Vietnam, a slender S-shaped land, so fragile on a map, and yet, again and again, so impossible to ignore. Why? Why did empires look at this coastline and feel temptation? Why did fleets drift toward these waters as if pulled by gravity? Why has this country, stretched between mountains and sea, always been more than just a place? Because Vietnam is not only beautiful, it is positioned, it is connected, it is a threshold between worlds. To the east, the sea opens like a highway of blue. To the west, the land rises, rugged and watchful. In between, a ribbon of life runs north to south, changing its face every few hundred kilometers. Tropical beaches, misty highlands, rivers that braid into infinity, cities that never truly sleep. And that contrast is the secret. Here, nature does not simply decorate the land. It defines it, it protects it, it challenges it, and it shapes the people who live inside its borders. Look closer. Vietnam is a country of edges. Coastal edges, mountain edges, cultural edges. Every edge is a meeting point, and every meeting point becomes a story. One moment you are above emerald waters where limestone islands rise like ancient giants. The next, you are in the cloud-bound valleys where terraces fold into the hills like handwritten lines. Then suddenly, neon, motorbikes, steel, glass, a heartbeat of modern Asia. This is why the world watches. Not because Vietnam can be owned, but because it cannot. Because the moment you think you understand it, it changes. It opens another door. It reveals another layer. And in that endless unfolding, Vietnam doesn't just invite you to visit, it dares you to follow.
Vietnam is long, and the sea is always there. A coastline that doesn't just frame the country, it defines it. From the north, where limestone towers stand like guardians above the water, to the south, where the ocean softens into endless horizon, Vietnam keeps looking east, toward trade, toward travel, toward storms, toward opportunity. This is the blessing, and this is the danger. Because a coastline is a promise, but it is also an invitation. For centuries, ships have read these waters like a map. They came for routes, for harbors, for leverage, for control. And Vietnam learned the language of the sea early. How to live with it, how to work with it, how to defend against it. In some bays, the water is calm, almost unreal, a natural shelter shaped by mountains, a place where boats can hide from wind and where history can hide in plain sight. In others, waves hit the rocks with a hard metallic rhythm, as if the coast itself is reminding you, nothing here is given for free. But the sea is not only strategy, it is daily life. Fishermen leave before sunrise, markets wake up with salt in the air, nets are pulled, repaired, pulled again. A quiet routine that repeats, even while the world above argues about borders and power. And then, suddenly, pure beauty. Water so clear it looks like glass, sand like powdered gold, islands scattered like dropped jewels, palm shadows moving slowly, like time has decided to rest. This is the contradiction Vietnam carries so well. A coastline that can be paradise, and a coastline that can be a battlefield. And maybe that's why it pulls the world so strongly. Because if you control the sea, you control the story. But Vietnam, it doesn't let the sea tell the whole story. It turns that ocean into something else. Not a weakness, not a prize, a lifeline, a mirror, a warming, a home.
move inland, and Vietnam changes its voice. The sea fades behind you, and stone begins to speak. Mountains rise without warning, not sharp and hostile, but ancient, worn down by time, as if they have already seen everything and no longer need to prove it. This is a land carved slowly, by water, by pressure, by patience. Rivers don't rush here. They wind, they disappear, they return again, sliding beneath mountains and emerging where light barely reaches. In these valleys of limestone, the world feels unfinished, as if nature paused mid-creation and left the rest to imagination. Caves open like hidden doors, some small, intimate, almost gentle. Others so vast they swallow sound, light, and scale itself. Inside, time loses meaning. A single drop of water falls, and falls again for thousands of years. This is not scenery built for comfort. It was never meant to be easy, or conquered, or rushed. And yet, people came. They built temples at the foot of cliffs. They guided boats through narrow passages. They learned where the rock would allow life and where it would not. Here, nature sets the rules. Humans learn to listen. Mist drapes itself across peaks in the morning. By afternoon, the stone turns warm, almost golden. By night, the mountains vanish into shadow, becoming silhouettes against the sky. And in that silence, you understand something essential. Vietnam does not impress by shouting. It impresses by enduring. Every cliff, every cave, every winding river is a reminder. Some places are powerful because they refuse to move. After stone comes softness. The mountains loosen their grip and the land begins to breathe. Here, Vietnam flattens out, not into emptiness, but into abundance. Water spreads wide, soil turns dark and generous, and green becomes endless. Rice fields stretch toward the horizon, layered, folded, shaped not by machines, but by hands that learned patience one season at a time. This is not wild nature. This is nature in conversation with people. Every terrace is a decision, every canal a calculation, every harvest a quiet negotiation between rain, sun, and human effort. From above, it looks like art, perfect curves, repeating patterns, a landscape designed for beauty. But on the ground, it is work. Feet sink into mud, backs bend under heat, days begin early and end only when the light does. And still, there is rhythm. Plant, wait, trust, harvest. A cycle older than memory, repeated without applause. In the north, terraces climb hillsides like stairways to the sky, each level holding a thin mirror of water. In the south, rivers branch and braid, feeding fields that flood, drain, and flood again. Here, life follows water, and water follows gravity. Villages grow where the land allows it. Homes face fields, not roads. Time is measured not by clocks, but by color. The pale green of new shoots, the deep gold of harvest. This is where Vietnam feeds itself, quietly, reliably, year after year. No monuments rise here, no empires leave statues behind. And yet, this may be the greatest construction of all, a landscape built not to impress the world, but to survive it. Vietnam does not tell its history in a straight line. It stacks it, layer upon layer, era upon era. each one leaving a trace, then stepping aside. Dynasties rose here, not in isolation, but in constant awareness of forces beyond the horizon. Empires pressed from the north, oceans opened to the east, and the land in between learned how to endure pressure. Stone citadels were built, then rebuilt. Walls expanded, collapsed, and expanded again, not to display power, but to survive it. Every invasion left something behind, a technique, a belief, a scar. And Vietnam absorbed it all, without ever losing its center. Temples appear where mountains meet plains. Pagodas sit quietly beside rivers. Imperial cities face south, aligned not only with geography, but with philosophy. Here, history is not frozen. It breathes. You can walk through centuries in a single afternoon. Ancient gates, colonial facades, concrete reminders of modern conflict, all standing within the same frame. Not erased, not hidden, just layered. There were times when Vietnam was ruled, times when it was divided, times when it was nearly broken. And yet, it never disappeared, because this land learned a rare skill, how to bend without breaking. Foreign powers came with certainty, with maps, with flags, with deadlines. They stayed for a moment, sometimes for generations, and then they left. What remained was not conquest, but continuity. The rhythm of daily life resumed. Incense still burned, festivals still returned, families still gathered around low tables, telling stories that were older than any empire. Vietnam's history is not about domination, it is about persistence. A quiet refusal to be erased, a long memory carved into stone, wood, and ritual. Empires came here believing they could take something. What they didn't realize was that Vietnam was never something you could carry away.
Hanoi doesn't try to impress you, it simply continues. A city that has learned to live inside its own layers, old and new pressed together, not always neatly, but honestly. Step off the wide streets and Hanoi becomes something else. A narrow alley, a turn you almost miss, a doorway open just enough to let light spill out, and suddenly the city is close. Metal shutters rattle in the morning. A kettle begins to sing. Scooters slide past like water. Careful, practiced, constant. Here, life happens at street level, not behind glass, not above the noise, right here, on low stools, beside steaming bowls, under signs faded by rain and time. You don't visit Hanoi, you move through it. You follow scent, charcoal smoke, fresh herbs, roasted coffee. You follow sound, a vendor calling out, a bicycle bell, a radio humming somewhere inside a shop. And between those sounds, there are pauses. An old man reading quietly by the lake, a woman arranging flowers with impossible patience, a small shrine tucked into a corner, incense curling upward as if the city is still speaking to its past. Hanoi's beauty is not a single landmark, it's a pattern. The way morning light hits yellow walls, the way tree shadows stretch across a sidewalk, the way conversation flows, soft and familiar, even as traffic roars nearby. This is a place where time behaves differently, not slower, just layered. A French balcony above a noodle shop, a temple gate beside a modern cafe, a centuries-old rhythm inside a 21st century rush. And that's the magic. Hanoi doesn't pretend to be untouched. It doesn't try to be perfect. It lets you see the seams. And somehow, that honesty becomes its charm. Because in Hanoi, the real landmark is the feeling that you are standing inside a living story, and the next chapter is happening right in front of you. In central Vietnam, the country becomes a stage. The light changes, the air tastes of salt and heat, and the landscape feels dramatic. This is where mountains lean toward the sea, where roads curve like brushstrokes, and where the sky seems bigger than it should be. Then the symbols appear. In Da Nang, the river cuts through the city like a ribbon of steel. By day, bridges stand quiet, functional, simple lines against blue water. But at night, everything transforms. A dragon stretches across the dark, breathing fire into the crowd, as if myth decided to step into the modern world and refuse to be subtle. And higher up, above the coast, another image waits. A golden path in the clouds, held by giant hands. Not delicate hands, ancient, weathered hands, like the mountain itself is lifting the sky for you to walk through. It shouldn't look real, and that's the point. Because central Vietnam is where reality and imagination blur, where tourism becomes theater, and where architecture is designed not only to be seen, but to be felt. And then, Hoi An, a different kind of magic. No skyscrapers, no noise that lasts too long, just yellow walls warmed by lantern light and streets that glow like memory. Here, time doesn't rush, it drifts. Lanterns float on the river, small wishes carried by water. Footsteps soften on old stone. Conversations turn quieter, as if the city is asking you to speak gently. Hoi An is not loud beauty, it is intimate beauty. Beauty that leans close and whispers. And in one evening, you understand why this region stays in the mind. Because the middle of Vietnam doesn't just show you places, it gives you images, so clear, so unreal, they feel like scenes you once dreamed and forgot. Until now. And then the tempo changes. The South doesn't arrive quietly, it rushes in. Ho Chi Minh City, a place that feels like motion made visible. A city where the air vibrates with engines, where glass towers rise fast, and where the streets never truly empty. Here, Vietnam looks forward. Traffic flows like a living organism, not orderly, but somehow intelligent. 1,000 scooters move as one, splitting, merging, reforming, as if the city itself is breathing. But even in all this speed, the past is still here. A cathedral standing in the middle of modern noise, colonial buildings holding their shape against new skylines, markets that still wake early, still sell the same herbs, still carry the same familiar voices. And just a few streets away, small plastic chairs appear again, low tables, iced coffee, laughter, a reminder that Vietnam's heartbeat is not in its towers, but in its people. This is the final truth the country keeps revealing. Vietnam is not one thing. It is coastline and mountain, stone and rice field, imperial silence and urban chaos, lantern light and neon glare. And that is exactly why it has always been desired. Because it sits in a powerful place, because it holds powerful roots, because it carries beauty that feels endless. But the deeper reason, the reason it cannot be owned, is something simpler. Vietnam belongs to itself. It absorbs pressure and becomes stronger. It takes influence and turns it into identity. It welcomes you, but it does not surrender. So when people say the world wants to own Vietnam, what they really mean is this. The world wants to be close to something that refuses to disappear. A country that keeps unfolding, one layer at a time, one street, one river, one sunrise. Vietnam isn't a place you take, it's a place that takes you.